Hello everyone, welcome back to the Family History Project magazine for April 2020. We want to take this special time to acknowledge the passing of someone incredibly sweet and dear to both of our lives. Our cousin Becky, Irene Simmons, passed away this morning. And we're both still, I think, in shock over it. Becky was one of the smartest, funniest people I've ever known. We grew up together. She was always so incredibly happy to see you whenever you would show up. I'm going to miss you forever, Miss Becky.
And Becky helped a lot of people. She was a nurse. She worked in several nursing homes and home health care around the Lake of the Ozarks. Raised a family, grandkids, kids, grandkids, all that. Always out working, doing stuff, taking care of the farm. She did a lot to help a lot of people. And we love you, we miss you. And I know you're having homecoming with your parents, but we still love you.
Family History Project magazine for April 2020 starts now.
April 1828, the United States, especially the eastern seaboard states, were experiencing one of the most extreme winters ever recorded, with almost no winter to speak of, and then a severe frost in April wiping out huge portions of crops in the state of Florida. John Quincy Adams was the president, having just won a contentious fight. It was the 11th quadrennial presidential election, and it was held from Friday, October 31st to Tuesday, December 2nd in 1828. It featured a rematch of the 1824 election, as President John Quincy Adams of the National Republican Party faced Andrew Jackson of the Democratic Party. Both parties were new organizations, and this was the first presidential election their nominees contested. Unlike in 1824, Jackson defeated Adams, marking the start of a Democratic dominance in federal politics. But in Pensacola, Escambia County, Florida, on the 4th of April, John Henry Clack and his wife, Mary Louisa Thompson, were busy bringing second child Franklin Halsey into the world. Franklin grew up in Pensacola, a Navy town, and on June 30th, 1845, Franklin graduated from Mount St. Mary College in Baltimore, Maryland. He then went to study at Yale, and in 1847 he earned a Bachelor of Laws degree. He met and married Louise Chisholm Babcock on October 12, 1849. Franklin and his new bride moved to New Orleans, County, Louisiana. On 20th of March, 1851, Franklin was appointed by President Millard Fillmore to the post of Secretary of Legation to Brazil, a post which Franklin resigned on February 4, 1852, returning home for the birth of his first child, Louise Livingston, who was born on the 27th of December, 1852. By September 7th, 1855, Franklin had found his way up Norfolk, Virginia, where he was appointed chief of police and given full power over handling the horrible yellow fever that had taken over the city. Once the fever was contained, Franklin was appointed U.S. Attorney for the Eastern Division of Louisiana on September 26, 1856, finally settling back home in New Orleans, where, on October the 17th, his second daughter, Mary Reid, was born. Franklin fought in the Civil War and on the Confederate side. In 1861, he was appointed Lieutenant of Company D, Confederate Guards of Louisiana State Militia. Then in 1862, his career took off like a rocket. First, he was captain of Company A, 12th Louisiana Battalion. Then he was promoted to major of the 12th Louisiana Battalion. Then lieutenant colonel of the 12th Louisiana Battalion. And then colonel of the 33rd Louisiana Infantry Regiment. In 1864, he was promoted to lieutenant colonel of the 12th Louisiana Battalion. And in 1863, when New Orleans fell, all of Franklin's property was seized by the federal government, leaving Franklin and his family homeless. Franklin was fighting in the Battle of Mansfield in Louisiana and was wounded and died on the battlefield on April 8, 1864. He is buried in the Mansfield Cemetery in Mansfield, Louisiana.
Okay, we were just watching an amazing video about Franklin Halsey Clack and his amazing short life, and his ancestry, and we're going to talk more about it, how he relates down to us through Dolly Rosie Simmons Gurlt. And the first immigrant Clack that came over was Reverend James Clack. He ordained and got a degree at Oxford in England, and he married first wife in England, but she died shortly after, and he got a church in the colony of Virginia, so he came over to Virginia in August of 1678, and in 1679 he became the rector and minister of Ware Parish in Gloucester County, Virginia, and he married Jane Bowling, his wife. They had several kids. He was an early minister. He was one of the founding members of William and Mary College in Virginia. He actually, back then, the ministers traveled to different churches when there wasn't a minister available, so he traveled all over Virginia and Maryland as a minister on Sundays, and then we'd come back to his church. His son James Clack married Mary Sterling, very prominent in Virginia. He was a captain. He was in charge of the militia in colonial Virginia, in Gloucester County, Virginia, and also Brunswick County, Virginia. He and his wife both left wills and named all their children, which is wonderful in that time frame. And their son, William Clack, was our line, and he married Elizabeth Betty Twitty, and he was a school teacher. He was also a sheriff in Brunswick County, Virginia. He was a county clerk for the militia, also writing down all the stuff going on with the war and different things like that. They left Virginia, went to North Carolina, and then their son Sterling Clack was in the Revolutionary War, 1759 to 1837, was his birth dates, and he married down in Brute County, North Carolina, or Warren County, North Carolina, to Mary Polly Woods, and they had several kids in North Carolina, moved to Kentucky and Tennessee area, and he's buried in Sumner County, Tennessee. Their son, Elijah M.C. Clack, which is our direct line, was born in Tennessee and then moved to Illinois and is buried up in Illinois and buried in the Clack Cemetery in Iuka, Marion County, Illinois. Married Myram Alderson, and she's also buried there. They had a lot of kids, and their only daughter, Nancy Jane Clack, married Thomas Lee Hockety, and they were born. She was born in Illinois. They married there, and then they came to Morgan County in 1876, and their daughter, which is Myram Catherine Hockety Gurlt, was my great-grandmother. She married Jacob Benjamin Gurlt, and then their daughter, Dolly Rose Gurlt, is my grandmother. She married Charles Estel Simmons, and then it goes to my mother, Frida Simmons Middleton, and then to me. So the Clacks were founding members of colonial Virginia. They married into the most prominent families in Virginia. The Ware Parish where Reverend James preached at when he came over from England is still standing. It's still a church. He has a tombstone built at the back of the church and a plaque on it that gives all of his information. That's where we got a lot of it on him. So they were an amazing family. One of the uncles was Robert Ruffin. He lived in a plantation called Sweet Hall in Virginia. It's still there. He owned a ferry, and he would charge the British tax to ride the ferry over, and then he'd give the money to the American revolutionaries at the time and not charge them. George Washington crossed his ferry frequently. He's mentioned in the George Washington diaries. They're online. They're pretty cool information. They had a tavern there too where they took care of people, stayed the night, ate supper, fed them, fed their horses and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of history in the Clack family, and there still is. They're been in pretty much all the wars since the colonies on down to present. And they're spread out all over the United States and different countries. And the Clacks originated in Wiltshire, England, really close to Stonehenge. So there's all kinds of neat stuff on them. Amazing family. They did a lot for this country in service, in wars and different things. So check it out, and we'll be talking more about this later. We hope you guys are surviving what's going on today. We want you to stay safe, be careful, and we love all of you, and this is a family history project, and that's a wrap.
And only you could know the pain. You were afraid to face the devil. You were no stranger to the rain. Go rest high on that mountain. and gathered round your grave to grieve. I wish I could see the angels' faces when they hear your sweet voice sing. Go rest high on that mountain, Son, your word on earth is done. Go to heaven shouting love for the Father and the Son. Love for the Father and the Son. Go to heaven.